in central Queensland has released the name of a contractor who died in a workplace accident today. 33-year-old John Barker was killed at the BMA mine in Blackwater when a youth ran into heavy machinery just before midday. Police and the Mines Inspectorate are investigating.
John totally believed that he was invincible. He was the type of bloke that just would go out and he could do anything. And he could do anything that he put his mind to.
It's actually a really beautiful family, really close. The more I got to know them and the more I got to know John, there was certainly a lot of qualities in him that I liked or adopted or tried to model myself on.
And he was really well liked at work. Really well liked, like really respected because he was so smart.
Yeah, he was always a really friendly and pleasant person, and so that's my memories of John.
Yeah, I always say that 20th of February last year, my world fell apart. They walked in and said, is your husband John Barker? And I said, yes. He said, does he work for Nixon Communications? I said, yes. He said, did he work at BMA Mine today? I said, yes. And by that stage my head was just swimming. I'm thinking, what's the whole go? Did he not make it to work, or is he missing, or is he... And she said, are you pregnant? I said, yeah, I'm 37 weeks pregnant. She said, I'm sorry, but I have to tell you that your husband, John Barker, has been involved in an accident at the mine site. And he didn't make it. That was it. I just about fell backwards onto the chair. And my head just spun. My thoughts were just everywhere. His parents were there at the time, so I didn't have to speak to them. But I had to ring my parents. They were in Brisbane. And it was actually my mum's birthday, the day that he died. So Mum and Dad were out having lunch. And I had to tell them that John had been killed at work. And that was one of the hardest things I had to do, was to actually say it out loud. Saying it out loud was... I didn't want to do it because it almost made it real. I kind of just sat there and cried and cried and cried and cried until I just about couldn't cry anymore. It just felt like I was in a movie and it had happened and it wasn't real. And I think for the rest of that afternoon I had friends coming over to talk to me, and it just didn't seem real. I just kept on thinking, he'll pull into the driveway, they've got it wrong. It wasn't him, it was someone else. My youngest, who's 2 at the time, I said Daddy was gone to heaven, Daddy wouldn't come back, and he just turned to his brother and went, Daddy's gone. It was just, there was no tears, there was no nothing, not until the funeral. After the funeral and the curtains closed on the coffin, Harrison, my 4-year-old, we were all walking out. He turned back around and ran and opened up the curtains and sat next to the coffin and just cried and cried, just saying, I want my daddy, I want my daddy. And that was the first time either one of them had cried about their daddy at all. It's almost like He understood, Harrison understood at that moment that was his dad in there and he wasn't coming back. I guess the biggest impact that has really happened since the accident is just the whole change of life. The whole change of having a mum and a dad and the kids. That's not there anymore. Father's Day is going to be the hardest one forever. I don't think all the other firsts, now that we've done them, they'll be fine. But Father's Day was the hardest out of the whole lot.
The thing with Leanne, and it's a testament to the strength of her beautiful character, is she had to give birth a week or two after he passed away, and so here she is with a brand new baby. The stress of that, the changes to her body and all the things she has to deal with. Her other 3 children still to look after. In a community where she didn't really have any family, so she had to relocate at the same time.
The impacts on Leanne, they weren't just on that particular day, and I think of her brothers being there and her mum and dad and John's parents and their church friends were of great support to her and helping her to get through that particular day as well, and then ongoing. She's shown strength through all the different challenges, milestones that she's progressed through, and I guess it is still raw for Leanne. She has her good and bad days, like anyone would.
I'm floored at how she survived and how she showed her strength. It's just, it's amazing, just absolutely amazing.
Leanne's brother Bruce came up to me when I was leaving and he gave me a big hug and said, "Thank you, and go home and tell your husband that you love him." And Bruce saying that to me had such a profound impact on me because it made me, I had during the day, but that really made me put myself in Leanne's shoes, and knowing that something like that could happen to anyone at any time and not to take things for granted. And I guess at work to not take your safety for granted.
It's affected me personally, I guess in my approach to safety. I never didn't take safety seriously, but I guess people would say now that I'm overzealous, and I'll certainly be pedantic, and there is absolutely no compromise on safety. At the end of the day, the cost to you and your family and what you can lose is just horrific. It can't be calculated or valued. It's just, there is no compromise.
To take care in everything that you do, and to make sure that you really do start and end each day the way that you intended to, and you go home safely to your family at the end of each day. We are all aware that there are hazards and that we work with them every day.
My life, I've said the whole way through, the moment that accident happened, my life and my world fell apart. It was gone. Anything that resembled my life with John is gone. I have my kids and I'm very grateful for that, but I would much rather have my husband with me to help me deal with everything. And that's what people on the mindset have got to understand, is they've got to understand that you're going out to work, but you've left your family at home and they're depending on you to come back. I'd really like to thank you for viewing this video. Please don't leave your family in my situation.
One of the first stages of grief is denial. It's shock, and whilst my wife was comforting Leanne in words and even embracing her. Leanne was physically shaking, just trying to comprehend what had just happened. This news is, well, her whole world had just been torn apart. Everything that she had been living and striving for had just come to an end.
On the day of the incident, when I went to the Barker family home, there was a whole lot of emotion, from mum and dad to Leanne to friends. There were friends there.
So from the eldest we had Lachlan, and he sort of took things in his stride, but he can be quite introverted, so thinking quite deeply. And then we had Harry. Harry just cried. His heart really poured out because he wanted to see his dad come home, but yet his dad wasn't going to come home. The youngest, Oliver, he really didn't understand. Leanne was also pregnant, so the question is how did it affect the unborn child? Because Leanne was grieving heavily at that point in time, and I'm sure that the baby had felt that as well. There was the school communities that were affected, and the youngest were in preschool. The teachers, you've got the initial friends of the kids who were affected as well, and their families, and then you've also got the workmates. And some of those guys felt and did it pretty tough in that time as well, just comprehending that this was their mate, and how could that happen.
It made everyone sort of step back and have a think about what they do on a day-to-day basis. And even a little thing, just like driving down the road, you know, it can end up very dangerous.
I can say this coming from someone that's lost a friend, is that it isn't a game. There are serious repercussions to the choices that you make. At the end of the day, you're not going home so that you can come to work again the next day. You're going home so that you can be with your family. Don't just think about that shortcut that you can take now. Think about, you know, the holidays, the birthdays, the Christmases that you're going to have with your children and your wife. You know, it's not a game, it's serious.